Thank you for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and my name is Michael Bell, and we're here with Rick Beasley, who's the Executive Director of CareerSource. Thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure, Michael.
And first of all, your dress is immaculate, all right? All right, so congratulations on that, all right? That's number one. But let's talk about CareerSource, what it does for the community, and why its purpose from the beginning, how it was created, and the mission of it.
Well, Michael, first of all, thank you for allowing us to be here, enjoying the conversation that we've had earlier. But CareerSource South Florida, we are a workforce board. We're one of 24 workforce boards here in the state of Florida. We're chartered by the CareerSource State Board. Our funding comes from the U.S. Department of Labor. And most people think that all we do is employment and training, and we do. We have about 7 career centers here. Our board is made of private sector employers that help design policies that help other employers find and recruit talent. But our main focus is about building talent to help employers, again, find that product individual to help them grow their business, but also help those individuals have let's just say, a wage that helps sustain their family, right? Our goal there is that we put money into training. We help employers find talent. But we look at other policy issues that really impact the community, and so our role really is a convener, but we're also a funder. So we fund programs. I don't provide direct services. We fund programs that help families move to to be more economic mobile to help them grow. But we also help employers. So our main theme, or I would say, is the employer is our primary customer, and the job seeker really is our product. And so our goal there is to help understand what the employers need in terms of the talent desires, what their needs are to help grow the business. Our goal there is to work with, the Chambers of Commerce, with the Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Miami-Dade College, to design the programs to help them be able to train the individuals so the employers can hire them.
So the difference between what CareerSource does and, let's say, Miami-Dade College, we've been speaking about that. So explain the similarity and some of the differences.
They are a training vendor for us.
Oh, there you go.
They're a training vendor for us. And so really we're a funder. We work with the university. We help them design what the programs are, because our relationship with the chambers is to understand, okay, let's say, as a company, you're trying to find more journalists, and so there's a shortage of journalists, and so we may have this conversation. I may bring the school in and say, hey, can we design an apprenticeship program, or can you design a program that we could fund to be able to help meet that need? And that's what we do.
6 months or so ago, the professor who helped design the AI program at Miami-Dade College is here. So I asked a couple poignant questions. So if I go to chat and I put in stuff that's only about me, nobody else, when could I say that I wrote it? When I put in 10% of the information, let's say I say it 20%, 30, 40, and he kept saying it's an ethical question. I said, well, when the president speaks, all right, we know he didn't write it. And I said, all those people that say they wrote their books, I know they didn't write it. They sat with somebody who helped write it, and then they sent it to a couple different editors, and then when it goes to the guy that's going to put the money out, they rewrite that. So we see the difference that's happened in AI in the last 6 months to a year. It is massive.
Right.
So what can CareerSource do to prepare some businesses and students for this burgeoning career?
So let's first deal with the business community. Our goal there really is to identify what their needs are, what the talent needs are for that company. Our goal there really then is to assist them of identifying and then also maybe paying for a program that will help them, again, attract individuals. Because keep in mind, AI, it evolves. You said in 6 months it's changed. And so in another 6 months, it's going to even change, exponentially, right? So again, we help the employer identify those talent needs. Then we go on the other side to work with the schools and say, okay, here are the talent needs. And here's what we can do in terms of funding those needs, whether I get the money directly to an employer, or then we either fund a training program so they can build talent.
Somebody on your level understands what's about to be. Because if you're speaking to the employers and they're saying, listen, here's what our needs are, and you say, gee, I've been hearing this from all these employers, right? There's something that's going on. So what seems to be some of the trends that are happening right now?
So if you look at particular industries, so right now you say that IT is a huge industry. Our goal there really is to address those needs. So we're working with the Chambers of Commerce. We're active members with Greater Miami Chamber, Miami-Dade Chamber, Chemical, South Florida, the South Florida Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
These are big chambers.
These are
very
chambers.
active.
Yeah, very active. Our goal there is to understand what those trends are, to see what the needs are. So if you look at IT, it's always dealing with computer programmers, cybersecurity. And so when you know the information, then you're bringing in the college and say, hey, what programs do you have? And this is when you put $500,000 on the table and say, can you create this? Can we, again, attract? But the other piece also, too, when you get to the college side, is then also helping them recruit the talent to come in, to show them, working with the school district to see, hey, here's career pathways that can help benefit you and your family to grow. Because it's not just about the employer. You have to have someone who has the aptitude or the desire to want to go into a particular industry.
Do you impact high school students?
Oh, yes.
So we know I think it's the high schools on Sunset Drive, Sunset High. Years ago, there were 4,500 students there. I think there were 1,500 recently, and they turned it into a specialty school.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw what they were doing, a STEM school, and they would have, if you wanted to be a nurse, you'd be wearing a nurse's thing. If you you could make robots, doing all those things. We see that that's changed so much. Before that might have been on a graduate level, all right? Meaning on a master's program, but all of a sudden now we have very young people that are learning to be passionate about the things that they want.
Right.
So with these schools and people want to become engineers, how does a high school student or the high school access the education and the funding that you have?
Well, keep in mind, again, we always talk about that we have these career centers. We fund youth programs as well. And that's the beauty. For us, it's getting into the classroom to be able to help promote the types of career pathways that students can look forward to, okay? And so that's why the chambers become important, so they know what the needs are. But then working with Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Dr. Doach was with us this morning on a call on how we, again, build
President of Miami-Dade. I'm in a school board.
The school board, the superintendent. And so here's a way that we can work with them and saying, okay, here are the programs that we can fund. We have a number of apprenticeship programs that we've launched with Miami-Dade County Public Schools. We actually had the first pre-apprenticeship program in the state of Florida in Miami-Dade County Public Schools that we funded. Governor DeSantis came and did the first graduation for us. That was several years ago. And so it again, afforded students who may not want to go to college, but wanted to make a great, decent living. And so we fund those types of programs. And not every child's going to go to college. And my belief is this. I got into this field because I love to be able to build a system that if you didn't want to go to college, that there was an opportunity for you to become self-sufficient. And more so, it's more personal for me that, I designed a system so that my own children, whether they chose to go to college, they would be able to be law-abiding, tax-paying citizens and be able to get out of my home too. Okay.
Can we put the website address up there? But I'm glad you brought that up. Is when I was raising my kids, I said, listen, you only have to do two things. One, it's better to be unemployed with a graduate degree than with undergraduate. So just learn Spanish and get your graduate degree. Then after that, you are on your own.
Right.
All right. So with each of our children, we got half of that done. All right. And when I watched what they wanted to do, they both had undergraduates in public administration. That's probably the exposure to this type of thing. But one went right into tech stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that is a huge, huge market and forever evolving. And we see that. And in 6 months or a year, what we're looking at will be old stuff.
Exactly.
So how does CareerSource stay ahead? So when you go to the schools like Miami-Dade, say, listen, here's what we're seeing that's out there. And by the way, Madeline Pumer, when she spoke, she said, if you want to become an electrician, we can help you. If you want to go to MIT, we can help you do that.
Exactly.
And you can do it without debt, and we're going to take care of you.
Exactly.
So how do you stay ahead of the curve on that so you know what things to work on?
Well, you're looking at labor market information. I mean, that becomes key. I'm an economist by trade. It's funny how I got into this field, but again, looking at the trends. I would tell children now that you decide to become an economist and to look at this, but I'm more on the policy side. But if you're not looking at where the companies are growing, where there's growth, the occupations that are going to grow, each year, the state of Florida produces what is called the long term of the occupational projections. And so I am one of those hands-on directors because I cut my teeth in economics. I'm looking at the data and saying, okay, here are the occupations. But also you're sharing that with your training vendors and saying, okay, here's what's on the cutting edge. Here are the programs that we need to look at. But you can create these programs, but if you don't promote it with the parents, because we all, I mean, keep in mind, back in the day, all of us want our children to go to college. And yet sometimes our children may not want to take that route. They may not want to do the 4 years. And so you got to look at the programs that will help build the pathway for them to not only get, a job right after high school, but also there's lifelong learning. And that's some things we have to promote.
I was reading some reports, some surveys that were done, and went to employers and said, what's more important, a 4-year degree or the skills that you want? And it came back. Right?
It's going to be different.
Yeah, it was like, holy moly, look at that. All right. And you see it shifting.
Right.
So we are very task oriented here. It's like, okay, this is what we have. All right. You can have a 2-year degree, a 4-year, or a 20-year degree. If you can't do this stuff, it doesn't matter to us. Right.
Right.
But maybe there's a place that it matters a lot too. And I suppose our business is like so many more as far as how we create and make available to the public the things that we want. But you brought up about job growth. So I have here the report that came out last week.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. This is just a reminder. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, every month, the state of Florida produces a report, and so we customize it to our region. And so the numbers here, talks about the unemployment level. So right now we're 3.1.
It's low for the country, isn't it?
Full employment.
Yes.
Keep in mind, back in the day, full employment was 5%.
Yep.
Now, it dropped down to 4%. We're 3.1, which means, we have 38,000 folks, 42,000 folks who are unemployed. Job growth, 38,000 jobs that were created if you're looking at from year to year, 30,000 new jobs, okay? But you still have unemployment, low unemployment. And so the goal here is, how do you fill these jobs that go unfilled? How do you help them? And so policy-wise, we've changed how we make our investments. We're looking at now trying to entice Miami-Dade College, entice the FIUs and others to give college credits to working adults. Okay, if I've been working for a job, let's say an accounting clerk for 15 years, but I have no degree. So here's how you can help that person become economic mobile by helping him get the skills, using the work experience to get the graduate degree get a degree and moving up. And so that's where you make the policy shift and being able to help low wage earners to move up. But now I got to also entice that high school student to be able to look at an occupation and say, hey, here's an opportunity. But keep in mind, either they can afford to go to college or can't. How do we help them become, again, economic mobile? So you design programs, you fund programs with the college, with Miami-Dade County Public Schools. And I'm going to tell you, Dr. Doach has been doing a fantastic job over at the school system. They've really enhanced their career and technical education program. Dr. Renee Mantilla is the assistant superintendent. They really have modified how they're working with employers and creating apprenticeship programs that you and I, graduating from high school, can go into an apprenticeship program, get employed, make a decent living, earn college credit, and still be able to move to the next level. And that's the beauty of the programs we do.
So could you explain the involvement of Career Source in the health and medical arena as far as education?
Well, I just say this: we help promote in terms of high schools students on the potential occupations. What we help on the hospital side is creating, because there's a shortage of nurses, there's a shortage of CNAs. And so our role there on the policy side is promoting, designing apprenticeship programs with the HCAs, with the Baptists of the world. Because again, taking that CNA who's worked there 10 years, all right, but maybe can't afford to go to college, and being able to offset the labor costs. And so if we create an apprenticeship program, taking CNAs to an RN, I'll cover the cost of the labor costs for a year, 40% of it, to help, incentivize the employer. To incentivize the employer to create the program, but taking the existing workers that they have and saying, you know what, here's an opportunity of, Rick and Michael, they've been here, they're great, we want to move them up. And so here's a chance to be able to move them up and be able to offset their labor costs by doing so.
So, Rick, this is not just for kids. This is for
Adults.
working adults.
Yeah.
A friend of ours, she's now 60. She had a high school degree. She went and she got her degree, became a registered nurse, thanks to a local hospital.
Mhm.
Then she got her bachelor's, thanks to a local hospital. Then she got her master's, and now she is a nurse practitioner, traveling. She goes 3 months at a time across the country. Been doing it for years.
Okay.
And her husband, he just goes along. He stays in the town. And here's a woman, because somebody cared, it was the employer that did it because they covered the cost. Stay here. We're going to put you to school. You can work, right? And we're going to pay for your school. You have to make a commitment to stay.
Right.
And she was probably 45 at the time when she went back to school because she knew that it was important. But somebody along the way helped her, all right?
But again, it's about lifelong learning. I mean, one that's more personal. I tell you, Michael, that I was a district manager with Aldi, making great money. It's more internal for me because I said, you know what, my mother had a PhD, father had a master's, brother had an MD, wife at the time had a JD, grandmother had a master's, grandfather a master's. I was like the black sheep of the family because I just had a bachelor's degree and I was making money, but it wasn't about that. And so I left and went back to school and got my master's and got into this field. And so I think for those adults that it's always about lifelong learning, trying to get to the next level, trying to, be an example. I can give you a program I funded years ago of a young lady. She was 72 years of age, never graduated from high school. Daughter was in her 50s, never graduated from high school. The granddaughter now is like in, I want to say maybe late 30s or early 30s, late 20s, never graduated from high school. All three of them graduated. I went to the graduation.
So we know the little eyes are always watching.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the granddaughter going, look at grandma, look at mom. So that's a generational shift
Right.
in what the expectation is. And so when we do things, we know that somebody's looking, all right? And maybe they're going to get something good
Right.
from that. But let's talk a little bit about, this is National Black Business Month.
Right.
Right? This is the month of August, in case somebody's watching it in September. So what does that mean to us here in Miami-Dade County?
One, first of all, on a national scene, is they've taken a month to say, you know what, we're going to focus on small businesses that just happen to be black. But we're calling it Black Business Month. It affords us to kind of focus on those businesses because, they're just like anyone else. They're trying to grow their business, to expand. But what's important is that it builds a community. And keep in mind, if you look at, I'm a product, I grew up in Tulsa, born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so you had Black Wall Street. My great-grandparents had 3 grocery stores at the time. They were burned down during the riots. But they hired folks from the community. That's why it's important to have that you promote black business, because they hire from the community. My role as a workforce leader is how can you assist them to be able to recruit talent, to help minimize, to reduce labor costs so they can grow their business because they're going to hire from the community. That's why it's important.
So we understand that in Miami-Dade County, we have so many different cultures. And when we try to reach out to a culture that is not like I look or like you look,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there's this roadblock that's in there. Even though you're intentionally trying to deal with it, there's this default that says, nope, too hard, all right? What can you do for the business that says, I want to reach out to some other communities, all right, to assist, whether it's for hiring or to buying or to selling? What's a way that they can get their head in the right place?
Well, one, I think, working with chambers of commerce, you have Miami-Dade Chamber with Eric Knows, partnering with an organization like that. I mean, you had the Greater Miami Chamber and Miami-Dade Chamber partnered together to help promote, again, black businesses. But it's also, where creating, because keep in mind, 95% of the businesses here, small business. And so instead of just looking at them as being black versus how do you promote small business?
Yes.
Okay. Again, I just happen to be black. I run Curacao, South Florida. I serve everyone, not just the black community. I serve everyone, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're Anglo, whether you're black, we serve everyone. And so again, if we take away just the black, and the emphasis here is because they have not maybe had the opportunity, but they're a small business. And if we concentrate in that area,
So
it helps
you're
them grow.
pretty well self-actualized when you can acutely aware of that about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a human being. the start. And here's some of my happen to be these traits over here. I look at that, and also in the religious end. You're a human being, and that you happen to be this particular religion. Not you're this religion, and you're a person. Susan McDowell from Circle One Marketing has helped me realize those things, and to help me be a little more colorblind than I thought that I was, but also to recognize there's things in our lives that we just accept, and that it's up to each of us to go out and to get out of our comfort zone and try something new and look at people for who they are, right? And to try to for us to get along.
But see, but that, to your point, but that's the importance of whether you have this Small Black Business Month. That is, how do you help these small businesses grow? Because keep in mind, September 15th through October 15th is a Hispanic Business Month. Okay, and keep in mind, you had two sections of our country that when they created the business, they were afforded the opportunities to have the contracts with the American Airlines, with the other companies to the subcontract. That's why you have these months, because they're important to say, hey, you know what? Let's not lose sight. But at the same time, is that we need to have policies that really promote small business. Again, from us, our goal there again is how do we help offset labor costs? How do you help recruit for these small businesses who just happen to be Black?
And they are nationally recognized. Not holidays, but features. For instance, there's Heart Month, there's Diabetes Month, there's Mental Health Month, there's alcohol. There are hundreds of them. They're anniversaries, all right, for every type of thing. So we get that as far as the celebration. It helps us focus just for a moment about what we do as human beings. Can you share with us a couple success stories about you personally and how you work with entities, whether it's the employer, employee, or the schools?
So let's take one for we promote a Women in Tech program. It's a program that we started to help increase the number of women in IT. What I love about it, we took our first cohort, 15 young ladies. All young ladies now are in the IT industry. They've got their certifications. What I love the most important, go back to your point about eyes are watching you. At the graduation, I remember asking all the young ladies to have their children come sit next to them. Come sit next to your parents, to your mom. And so, did the graduation. Graduation's over. And you see the children, two of the young ladies, a little boy and little girl came up. Mr. Beasley, are you going to come to my graduation? So they can see themselves graduating. So that to me is success, because now you made an imprint on these kids seeing themselves graduating where their parents may not have, graduated from college.
You must feel pretty fulfilled to be able to change lives. And what we all realize, it's just not the student. It's the whole family.
Exactly.
And their extended family.
Exactly.
And all the eyes that are watching.
Exactly.
As I told the story about this young lady who went and got her nurse practitioner license.
Exactly.
It's just like, and that, by the way, and both her kids are nurses. And one of them's also now a traveling nurse, prepared for the future. Right. So I know in your life you must have had a lot of people that helped you along the way, and perhaps some mentors. I'd like you to think about some, and if you could look right into that camera right over there, and Michelle's going to key that up, and whether they're with us now or they've already passed, talk to them if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, to my mother who's deceased, my parents were fantastic mentors. My father's still living, 87 years of age. We were sharing earlier that how I dress. I never saw my father without a suit and tie on. But my father, went to work, showed us that the work ethics we need to have, as well as my mother. With my mother, it was always about the determination that education was always key. We didn't grow up with a silver spoon in our mouth. I'm the third generation to go to college. My children are the fourth generation. But education was always key, and it was a way for us, those of color, to be able to move to the middle class. And so my father set the stone. My grandfather was a sharecropper. And so my father was the first one out of his family to graduate beyond the 5th grade. And they only wanted to go to college. And so that was the example that we saw. And so he served 27 years in the military, came back, was the executive director of Operation Push. Most folks might remember it was Operation Push. Now it was a Rainbow Push. But he fought to ensure that everyone who looked like him had an opportunity because they didn't have an opportunity. That's why I love to serve. My mother was an educator for 38 years. And so if she was a white male, my mother probably, with her fortitude, would just as successful. But we never let the barriers, be, to stop us. It was always to serve, to serve, to serve. My brother is a medical physician. He's board certified in cardiology, pulmonary neurology, and internal medicine. And so we serve our community one way or the other. I love what I do. And to your point, it is about changing someone's life. Each day for me, if I can make an impact, you see children and you're changing their lives. If you see, even with their parents, everything we do is how we can change their lives. Because if you do that, you change the community, become more vibrant economically. You're helping business grow. So it's a win-win for everybody. And so I love what I do. Again, my parents are the mentors for me.
Rick Beasley, thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael.
And I appreciate what you do. Again, folks, Career Source, you can look them all up on the internet. And remember, take care of yourselves and your family. Have a great day. Bye.